sends her greetings, and she's looking forward to seeing you at the next concert. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Winchester Rotary Club for their very generous support of this concert series. It's so nice, we have such talented musicians on our faculty, and it's nice to be able to share them with the community in this way, so thanks to the Rotary Club. So now, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our very own composer and faculty member, Vartan Aghababian.
Thank you all for coming this evening, and it's nasty rainy outside, so I thank you again for putting out the extra effort. Welcome to my first faculty recital here at the Winchester Community Music School. I've been on faculty for a couple of years now, teaching music theory, and in the summers some music history, and over at the Jenks Center some music appreciation. So I want to thank those of you who have students that I teach or who come to the classes that I teach. Thank you very much. I have some other thanks too to the general staff at Winchester. Please, Laurie and Michelle, Gina, Asako, and the rest of the administration. I'm most indebted to them for their constant encouragement, support, kindness, and organization. They keep the school running so that we can teach. It's great. I'd also like to thank our Rotary sponsors. They are the ones who sponsor this faculty arts recital series. So I'm honored that Rotary is sponsoring my mother's brother. Robert Wanacott was a member of Rotary in Elk Rapids, Michigan for many, many years, so Rotary is very dear to our family. I'd like to especially also thank the musicians this evening. In the case of the composer, our music remains on the page until anyone comes along, hopefully good musicians, and that's who I have tonight, to decide to reconstruct the sounds that are represented on the score. So I'm very, very thrilled, honored, and excited to be working with almost a complete crew of colleagues from the Winchester Community Music School. Only my dear friend Caitlin Perry has joined us, and the rest of the performers this evening are my esteemed and respected colleagues on the faculty here. I also would like to thank my parents who have come here from Michigan for this concert, and my friends who continue to support me with their enthusiasm and attendance at my concerts. And now I would like to make a few quick remarks regarding our first piece. We'll be starting out. John Kramer will be playing the children's album. 2 years ago, 2009, I was commissioned by the South Shore Conservatory in Hingham to compose a set of 6 piano pieces that would be the compulsories for their piano competition, ranging from early students, level 1, up to their advanced students, level 6. The result was the children's album, which is going to open our concert. Some of the pieces have been performed, some of them have not been performed in the past, and I don't believe that the 6 have ever been performed together as a set. So though we do not have, unfortunately, Norina Roman to sing the 3 Dickinson songs this evening for their premiere performance, we do have John Kramer to give the premiere performance of the children's album. As the pieces progress, hopefully, you'll notice that they increase in difficulty, and I'm honored to have him open my concert. Please enjoy. Elegy for Flute and Piano. This is one of those pieces that has an interesting story behind it. The flutist who's performing tonight is also the flutist who has performed it at all times in the past. We went to the Launchie School of Music in Cambridge and did our masters together, Sarah and I, but with the flutist to whom the elegy is dedicated, Alex Zukowski. Alex had come to the United States, leaving his wife, a 2-year-old son, and a newborn son behind in his native Russia, and had come to the United States and worked very, very hard for 2 years. He had very hard living conditions, limited funding, worked a bunch of jobs, kind of to keep himself afloat here. He was an extraordinarily kind, quiet individual. Everybody liked him at Launchie, and he graduated and was chosen to perform at graduation, actually, and he did a beautiful job. He returned with his master's degree home to his home country of Russia, and within 3 weeks fell dead in the driveway of a heart attack. And the immediate reaction that everybody had was such loss that there was a concert that was organized in his memory. We all had just finished our degrees. We were all looking forward to using them and launching our careers and heading forward, and it was a tragic reminder to everyone that there are no guarantees for anyone. And so there were 2 women who were from the flute department who organized this recital, and they contacted me to write a piece for it. And so the result of that is the elegy, and I'm looking forward to hearing it again tonight. John Kramer will be back, and we'll have Sarah Brady, the flutist who has always performed it for us again. So I need to explain a little bit about the fragments to you. First of all, they're based on poetry by the Greek poet Sappho, pre-Christian era by centuries. And the poetry only exists in fragments. The structure of every poem is known. They are either 3 or 4-line poems, these Greek monodies. And the poems were either put down on parchment, on leather, or in stone. And only fragments of them survive. But by their poetic structure, scholars know where in the poem the fragments would fit. So, Sapphic scholars know, for instance, that in the very first one, Love Shook My Heart, that only the beginning part of the poem is lost, followed by the remaining fragment, and then a larger section of the poem that is lost. My intention with the fragments was to create duets with flute and tenor, where the flute presents the entire song, what would have been the entire song had all the text been represented. The voice will then only sing the text that remains where it would have fit into the song as I have constructed it. You'll notice in your program that you have lines in each of the texts representing the missing lines of the poems as scholars have identified them. If you'd like to follow along to hear the music until the voice enters, and then hear the voice after, the flute basically finishes the songs that the voice cannot sing because the remaining poetry is gone. I hope you enjoy them.
Seminar, Vartan would come in all bubbly, and I would come in cranky. It was very early in the morning. And we got to talking, and he said, well, I'm a composer. And I said, well, I love new music. And we had this wonderful conversation in the lobby of Lanchi that lasted and lasted, as it can last sometimes with Vartan. You know, lasted and lasted and lasted. And then the next time I saw him, he said, you know what? I wrote a piece for you. I'm writing a piece for you, and it's for flute and tenor. And then this was the piece, which is a magnificent piece. So that's how it actually began. Years ago.
have a trio. We're building our ensemble slowly this evening. It's a lot easier to put on a concert of chamber music than it is of larger ensemble music, if you can only imagine. Needing to gather string quartets and woodwind quintets and small chamber orchestras and choirs and things like that. It takes maybe a little more connections than I've got, but in the meantime, we'll be listening to a trio of songs that I've called Secret Music after the last song in the set. I think one of the most frequent questions I'm asked as a composer who prefers to set vocal music, to set text, creating vocal or choral music, how do you choose your text? What do you look for in a text? Why the texts that you have chosen? And I would say that the first thing that I look for in a text, and I read a lot of poetry, primarily because I have limited time to read and I'm a very slow reader, therefore it's a lot more satisfying to read a complete work and close the book and go to bed, because it was only this long. But I read a lot of poetry, and a lot of good poetry, unfortunately, does not make for good text setting. Good text setting poetry needs to be understood orally on first hearing. You have one chance to hear it. If there's a piece of poetry that needs to be read and read and read and dissected and analyzed and the structure reorganized so that it can be understood, it will not make for good text setting. The most important thing that I look for is for ease of natural flow of conversation or of narrative in the poem. A second thing that I love is structure. A lot of contemporary music and a lot of contemporary poetry is unstructured. It's free. Do it as you like it. Play it as you feel it. Write as you like it. Write as you think it. My own penchant is for something that has been culled from ideas that have been carefully hammered and forged into structured sentences, perhaps even metered and rhymed poems. To me, if they can speak directly and come from the world of careful structure and even rhyme scheme, they have all the more value. These texts this evening that are set in secret music are three of a number that I would like to set in my lifetime. Written by Siegfried Sassoon. He was one of the privileged class in Britain right at the turn of the century. He was drafted and sent to war with his brother, actually, who died. And they come from a collection of war poems that have been specially published of Sassoon. Siegfried Sassoon was also part of that British World War I poets, most of them who all went to war and died, including Rupert Brooke, Rupert Everett's the actor. Rupert Brooke, and Wilfred Gibson and Wilfred Owen. I would also like to say that I'm honored to have Stanley Wilson singing my music this evening. I had heard him sing. He was also a student in the opera program at Longines. We never really mixed much, but I'm honored to have him singing. It was great to hear him on the fragments, and I hope you enjoy him singing the three texts for secret music. So our final selection for this evening is a piece that actually opened my doctoral recital. We'll have it closing tonight's recital, an obade and variations for 2 and then 3 flutes. And I'll give you the background on that particular information, on that structure of the piece. The first thing is an obade is a morning exchange, a parting exchange between lovers. And it's usually, obviously, a duet, a dialogue between 2 instruments, in this case 2 flutes. The variations that follow, there are 7 variations. The first 2 variations are still for two flutes. The 3rd through 7th variation and coda are for 3 flutes. And here's the story on that. Former Winchester Community Music School faculty member Heather Gilligan, piano and theory and composer faculty, she was getting married and she asked me to write a piece for her, and she had a whole bunch of friends who were flutists, so we decided to do that. But one of the flutists happened to be standing up in the wedding and couldn't play the piece at prologue. But she wanted it in the prologue, and I wanted to use all the flutes that I could. So I said, well, how about this? How about if I write a piece that starts out with 2 flutes, and in the latter half of your ceremony, your 3rd flute, one of your bridesmaids, matrons, she's married with children, can pick up the flute and join in, and we can finish the piece. And she says, it's a great idea. So what you'll hear with the 2 flutes was what came out pre-ceremony, and then the 3rd flute will join it to finish off the piece. I'm very happy to have 3 good friends who I think are even better musicians play this piece. They are the exact same 3 ladies I had in mind to have this piece premiered on my doctoral recital. The piece was too long to do at Heather's wedding. We only touched upon the 3rd variation. So this is at the wedding. So it was premiered on my doctoral recital. It closes the piece this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so very much for being here.